Today, join FanDuel TV for top-class horse racing from Del Mar, highlighted by the Grade 2 Eddie Reed Stakes, one of the most important races in Southern California for older turf horses. Our on-site FanDuel team has got you covered with expert analysis and cutting-edge technology to watch and wager on every race where the turf meets the surf. First post is 5 p.m. Eastern. Don't go anywhere. FanDuel TV is the only place to catch all the fast-paced racing action from Del Mar. And don't forget to bet with the FanDuel Racing app.
Front, and the Chosen Vron is the new leader as they turn for home in the Bing Crosby. The Chosen Vron leads them. On the outside, Jackstown is running a big one. Close the game. Sugar is also battling. Anarchist is down at the rail. They come for home, and just look at this. The Chosen Vron is just absolute class. The Chosen Vron and Hector Berrios win the Bing Crosby for fun.
After a spectacular Saturday here at Del Mar, we're getting ready for a sensational Sunday. But we need to talk about the sensational The Chosen Vron. In back-to-back years, he wins the Bing Crosby. He guarantees his spot in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. Welcome to our set here at Del Mar. I'm Todd Trupp, very pleased to be with Gabby Gaudet. We'll be talking about the big race on the Sunday card, the Eddie Reed, in just a moment. But you can't stop talking or find superlatives for the Chosen Vron. You mentioned yesterday, obviously, the other great thing about him, he's a Calbred. He's won for the 19th time. He's won on a variety of surfaces. He's taken on all comers. He wins big races like the Bing Crosby. I think every circuit has that horse that's bred in their state that goes on to kind of become legendary there. Ben's Cat, where you're from, in Maryland, kind of that. But the Chosen Vron is now going outside the borders of California and getting a lot of fans.
And obviously he was one of the top contenders in the sprint division last year, but I did think that the sprint division might have been a little bit deeper last year. This horse might be getting better in a year that we're still kind of looking for.
There's no elite power out there.
There's no elite power out there. So this could be his year. This could be his year if he keeps it all together by the time we get to the fall and he gets the Breeders' Cup.
His versatility is just what amazes me, because we were talking about yesterday with the scratch of Straight No Chaser. That kind of left the speed in doubt. He broke on top in the early stages, was able to relax and then finish and power away from everyone. He is truly one of the best sprinters in the country anyway.
He is, and he had a wide trip. I mean, Hector just kind of sat on him and said, well, let's just take the path of least resistance because I'm on the best horse.
Yeah, and think about the previous year when he had to overcome something very different and be down on the inside. Okay, the Chosen Vron.
Very cool. Matt asked me this yesterday, Matt Bernier. How does he get to the Breeders' Cup? Because last year, that was his last race before the Breeders' Cup.
Well, the key, now you handicap the trainer.
Yeah.
And when it comes to Eric Kruljack, he is very deliberate. He has no problem taking this horse off a layoff. You know what he'd have no problem with? Running a Calbred race in between. He's not going to all of a sudden just be grade one right up into the Breeders' Cup Sprint. But I agree with you. I don't think we'll see more than one start before the Breeders' Cup, if we see another start. What a day yesterday. But as we said, another big day ahead here at Del Mar, an 11-race card that starts at 2 o'clock local time, but is highlighted by the Grade 2 Eddie Reed. And speaking of horses who've won a race before, just like the Chosen Vron defending its title in the Bing Crosby, Masterpiece is trying to win this race for a second time, but under a little bit different circumstances. You have to go back to 2022, Masterpiece winning the Eddie Reed, and Masterpiece having not raced here last year in the Eddie Reed, trying to do it again. So here he is at the age of 8 today. He was 6 here. Does he still have it in him?
I think so. I mean, his last race was one of his better races on form. When you look at his last race in the Fort Marcy, it was a small field. I don't know what to make of it. And he found himself forwardly placed in a slow pace. And this is a look at the
Fort Marcy. Yeah.
Where was he? Smith. Okay.
Well, that's all right.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, anyway, I'm going to talk about the Fort Marcy.
Well, it's very similar in that he wins by a neck in either one.
Yeah.
But what did you take away from his most recent win?
It was kind of a gaudy figure. It was a small field. He found himself forwardly placed. It's not usually his running style. He did beat Ottoman Fleet, who came back to win the Wise Dan. I thought it was okay, but I still think, I don't know. I think he got everything to go his own way, and I don't see those circumstances playing out for him today. Not to say he can't win, he just got everything to go his own way last time.
The best part about Masterpiece might be the pre-race interview of Scott Hazelton is able to talk to Michael Ivarone and his entourage, who are expected to be here as owners of Masterpiece. Okay, let's talk about Balnikov, the horse that I cannot figure out. I remember his big win at Keeneland about a year and a half ago, and it was a tremendous ride that ultimately resulted in that win. There's been a lot since that time, and then most recently he returned to form on a soft turf course at Pimlico. I can't trust any of the turf form from Preakness weekend. That was an absolute bog.
Yeah, I mean, you can kind of see like puddles on the turf.
Yeah, it was a lot of rain.
It was a lot of rain, and some horses, they get over that type of ground. I think he really handled that surface. I mean, he kind of has daisy cutter action where he just kind of skips over the surface. Other horses, even the second place finisher, I think, wasn't necessarily handling it. So I don't know. If you're looking at his overall record, I would have to look past the Dinner Party Stakes just because of the soft ground and the field. I don't know that it was that strong of a field. I still think he needs to deliver his A+ game in order to be a contender here.
Du jour is one of the morning line favorites in here, but it's fair to ask, is this horse as suited for a mile and an eighth as he is at a mile? Bob Baffert has gone out of his way to basically keep him at a mile on the grass. What about the extra 220 yards today for Du jour?
I think it takes a little bit of his turn of foot, quote unquote, away from him. His turn of foot is so potent at the mile. And sometimes it's, we think that more distance will help closers, and that's not necessarily the case. Sometimes you get really good milers that are really good closers. And I think that's the case with him. Now, he lost his last race as the favorite in the Shoemaker Mile. He found himself so far off the pace, and he had a very wide trip, whereas the winner, managed to save ground. He just kind of got the jump on him. I still think he's a really nice closing miler. I'm against him today.
That trip you described for him in the Shoemaker Mile applies to Easter as well. Easter broke horribly. Not that Easter is ever going to be close to the pace, but Easter was much farther back than we're used to, and then rallied to finish sixth, beaten 3 lengths in the Shoemaker Mile. But this is a horse, the last time he was at Del Mar was during the fall meet. And sometimes when you look at the Bing Crosby form on the main track, compare it to the summer form, it doesn't match up. But in the case of Easter, that part of the Bing Crosby season, the Turf Festival, those are deep races. So his win in the Seabiscuit handicap, I think, goes a long way.
I agree with you, and that was going a mile and a 16th. His last race, as you mentioned, in the Shoemaker Mile, this is a horse that actually, he didn't get out of the gate at all. He was really tardy. It was kind of an awkward beginning. So now they're putting the blinkers on him for the first time today. And when I look at this race, Todd, I see some horses that I think are better suited to the flat mile. This horse, I think, has been running at the flat mile, but wants more distance. So it's kind of the reverse for him.
Okay, so let's go reverse on this whole talk about stretching out, and let's come back in distance. Gold Phoenix is a winner of the Charlie Whittingham last time out at a mile and a quarter. So he shortens up 220 yards. How do you see him?
I think he's fine. He won the Eddie Reed last year. We actually have 2 repeat winners in this race, and Masterpiece, who won it 2 years ago, and Gold Phoenix, who won it last year at Del Mar. He got a really good trip. I went back and watched that replay. Everything really worked out for him. He got a strong pace, sat the perfect trip. Maybe it doesn't work out for him today, but I do think that he's a little bit more versatile than some of these other horses that are better at the mile. I think he can go anywhere between a mile and a 16th to a mile and a quarter, as he proved last time out.
Johannes is the morning line favorite, and I don't think he's reached his ceiling yet. He seems to be getting better with each start. If not for one poor effort out of town at Churchill Downs, he'd be undefeated on the grass. He's 5 for 5 here in Southern California on the turf. Is this horse a deserved favorite, or do you have some doubts?
I guess it's just the distance, right? We'll see. We'll find out today. I think there's a reason why the Connections wanted to run him shorter earlier on, and then they started to stretch him out a little bit more to the mile. When you see, sometimes horses going 6.5 furlongs on the turf, they are those in-betweeners. They can stretch out to the mile and really no longer than that. So I'm kind of on the fence with him. If he does wind up going off as the favorite, I'd look to go in a different direction. But he's a very nice horse. And you mentioned his loss to Webslinger. And how good is Webslinger at Churchill in particular?
Right.
So he lost to a horse that it was very, very good at Churchill 3 starts back.
Normally, when we get to this point in handicapping a race, I know who you're going to select. I'm asking the question, but I know what you're going to answer. I have no idea who you're picking in the
Can you take a guess?
Well, it's definitely not Masterpiece. I'm going to say you went for a bit of a price and you went for Gold Phoenix.
I was in between Gold Phoenix and Easter. I went 4-3 here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So looking for a price in the Eddie Reed. You've heard our opinion. Most important opinion is yours. You can play it through your FanDuel Racing account. We hope you'll join us for our FanDuel TV coverage on this Sunday at Del Mar. Again, first race is at 2 o'clock, but we'll be here starting at 12:30 on the airwaves to bring you the very latest. Thank you for joining us. Our handicapping show here at Del Mar on our social media platforms for FanDuel TV. We have been ranked as one of the fastest growing and most popular programs currently on social media. For Gabby Gaudette, I'm Todd Schrupp. Until next time,